Apparently, a few days ago, these secret slides or documents were leaked from, I suppose, some sort of game company or a company that interacts with game companies about like their very, I would just say, evil, clandestine ways of using AI to manipulate gamers into buying their crap and using microtransactions, and also tracking them and their behavior. Like, I should mention, I heard about this from Mr. Obvious's video. He made a video about it yesterday, and I hadn't heard about this stuff, like assuming that this is all real, but there's like a I don't know, 40-50 different pages of information. So if this is like some sort of hoax, I have to congratulate whoever made this, because they went through a lot of effort. So like this whole shit is very Orwellian, it's evil, and I cannot believe that this is all legal either, if this is true. But before we go into this, I should also point out this page, Tech Power Up. It also wrote a short article about it. So, leaked AI-powered game revenue model paper foretells a dystopian nightmare. An artificial intelligence AI will deliberately tamper with your online gameplay as you scramble for more in-game items to win. The same AI will manipulate your state of mind at every step of your game to guide you towards some more microtransactions. It proposes leveraging AI to gather and build a socio-economic profile of a player to implement the best revenue generation strategy. It also proposes using an AI to consistently alter the player's gameplay such that the player's actions don't have the desired result, leading towards beating the game, but towards an unfair consequence that motivates more in-game spending. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to show that this exists, basically. But first, before I go deeper into this, I want to show the background of a similar incident from a few years ago. You might have heard of it, Gamergate. We all probably know the story that is constantly repeated in the media. Like, of course, the mainstream media and feminists claim that it was about sexist, racist gamers who have problems with women, sending them death threats and all that, or rape threats or whatever. But then the other side, the gamer side, the Gamergater side, is that there were these immoral feminists and game journalists colluding and together and against gamers to promote feminism, and also like engaging in nepotism and whatnot. But that's apparently only the surface, the tip of the iceberg. Because back in 2014, when Gamergate happened, I didn't really pay attention to it. Like, I had a vague idea that there was some sort of scandal or controversy in the game media, but I thought for years that the traditional gaming media is irrelevant and obsolete, because now you have, people just can write their blogs or Steam reviews or make YouTube videos about games. So if you want information about the game, you don't really have to read any, professional game journalists' opinions about it, unlike back in the 90s when we had lots of gaming magazines and stuff. But anyway, then like sometime in 2015, I found out more about like Gamergate thanks to people like Sargon of Akkad or Internet Aristocrat. I wonder what Internet Aristocrat is doing these days. I haven't heard about him in years. But anyway, let's read this, part of this article from Forbes. What is Gamergate and how did it blow up into such a giant conspiracy? In August of this year, so it's 2014, the ex-boyfriend of indie game developer Zoe Quinn, Aaron Johnny, posted allegations on his blog that she had exchanged sex with Kotaku journalist Nathan Grayson to get favorable reviews of her game, Depression Quest. On September 1st, Short Fat Otaku posted, then removed, then reposted a vlog poking fun at Quinn's sexual history and claiming that the woman holding the camera on both videos had talked to Joni in a 4chan IRC, Burgers and Fries, and that he had disclosed that Quinn's PR agent may have been sleeping with the IGF chairman. The video posted by Short Fat Otaku speculates on a feminist/social justice Illuminati that are taking over gaming and accused Quinn's parent company Silverstring Media of being a part of that conspiracy. The video notes that companies and games that tend to win at the IGF are composed of clients, friends, and colleagues of Silverstring Media. Kotaku editor Steven Totilo confirmed that Quinn and Grayson were in a relationship, but noted that Grayson had never reviewed Quinn or her work after the commencement of the relationship. He notes that both her game and the failed show she had appeared on were mentioned on Kotaku before the relationship started. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. 4chan members reacted to this by speculating on various conspiracies involving feminist, social justice, and media critics, and noted that Silverstring also has ties to the Digital Games Research Association, or DIGRA, an academic institution that studies gaming and gaming phenomena. DIGRA had recently held a retreat for Silverstring members on dismantling hegemonic masculinity. DIGRA itself had done work with DARPA on a project called Immerse, prompting 4chan members to believe they had stumbled onto some sort of massive government conspiracy. So yeah, then the gamers and 4chan members investigated and stuff. Okay, I won't go further with this article, but yeah, this DARPA is somehow connected to the whole Gamergate thing. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and they are responsible for development of emerging technologies for use by the military, the US military. Why would DARPA be connected to, feminists and gaming? Like, what's this all about? And I hadn't heard about this prior to, I heard some, rumors, maybe a year or 6 months ago or something, but I hadn't looked into it, but I don't recall any of the, skeptic Gamergaters or anybody really talk about this. Maybe some of them did mention it here or there, but I forgot about it, 2-3 years ago when I watched their older videos. But yeah, this is an interesting omission. So yeah, DIGRA, Digital Games Research Association, is a non-profit international learned society whose work focuses on game studies and associated activities. DIGRA was formally established in 2003 in Finland. This gave me the chills or the creeps since I'm Finnish. So anyway, this is related to, this has worked with, why would this Finnish company or organization work with the American DARPA, the Advanced Research Project Agency for the military? What the fuck? And to point out, just an example of what sort of stuff DARPA does. And yeah, for me, DARPA always reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 1, because there was a mission you were supposed to rescue the DARPA chief from some terrorists, and I was when I was a teenager playing it, I was like, what the fuck is DARPA? I didn't know what is DARPA. It was just the DARPA chief. It was the, the objective, the MacGuffin, so I didn't really care back then. But that's just, not really relevant. But anyway. So remember Eater, the military robot that was supposed to eat humans. News began to circulate about Eater. The public became concerned that this robot was powered by feasting on the flesh of dead people. Back in 2009, Cyclone Power Technologies was working with DARPA and Robotic Technology Inc. to develop a robot that didn't need a battery or a fuel tank of any kind. The goal was to build a military robot that could go on endurance missions and feed on the vegetation around it without needing to be refueled or have a battery recharged by humans. Above we see a rendering of Eaters and blah blah blah. All Eater would need for power was the biomass it could find, like dead trees. Oh, and did I mention it had a chainsaw for chopping up vegetation, of course. As soon as people heard about this robot, they started asking those obvious questions. Since this is a robot for the military, could it feed on dead humans who are killed in battle? But anyway, here it says like DARPA denied that they didn't, it would never feed on humans, but I don't buy it. And, well, yeah, this sounds like, Terminator pretty much. And, this was already almost 10 years ago in 2009, so I don't know, like, what would this, defense contractor or whatever it is, what's the technical term, what's their connection to gaming? And then there's like this article, it's not directly related to Gamergate in my opinion, but anyway, DARPA uses preteen gamers to beta test tomorrow's military software. Why is DARPA the original primary funder of the CGS Center for Gaming Science or something? According to written and recorded statements from current and former DARPA program managers, as well as other government documents, the DARPA-funded educational video games developed at the CGS have a purpose beyond the pretense of teaching elementary school children STEM skills. Instead, the games developed at CGS have had the primary purpose of using grade school children as test subjects to develop and improve adaptive learning training technology for the military. Like, okay, this is like interesting. First I talked about the, killer robots or alleged killer robots. And then this, they're using children to improve adaptive learning, like by computer games or something. Like, they might be related. I'm not saying they necessarily are, but maybe they're like testing the senses of the children to improve their robots or something else. Like, why would they military be interested in gaming and doing research on children? The CGS website cites DARPA right on its main page, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Office of Naval Research, and several corporate sponsors. So the Gates Foundation's involvement isn't all too surprising. The foundation is committed to making the world a better place after all. Yeah, by working with DARPA. Yes, I don't like their kind of betterment. And here it says, first I should say that we know the Center for Game Science is being funded through a DARPA program called Engage. Though they're often capitalized, I'm told the letters don't actually stand for anything. So DARPA was working for Center for Game Science. They had special project called Engage. They were doing tests on children, and then they had this thing called Immerse. So this is Immerse from Digra. Here it says Center for Games and Playable Media. But yeah, here is Immerse. Is a project funded under DARPA, the DARPA Strategic Social Interaction Modules program. The goal of the project is to produce a game-based training environment that teaches people how to be good strangers, supporting the practice of skills necessary to have successful social interactions when in novel culture and language context. This will be accomplished via virtual dramatic scenarios realized within the Unity game engine, in which the player interacts with computer-controlled autonomous characters in high-consequence social environments, learning how to quickly recognize and navigate the social interactions norms in these environments. So they're making some sort of computer game simulation with Unity engine, so to help people from different cultures interact with each other, or why would DARPA be interested in this? So I guess this thing is just to point out, DARPA seems to have its finger in many pies on testing computer games or simulations and to use it for whatever agenda they are using it for. Okay, let's move on. So there was this guy on YouTube back in 2014, 2015, Seattle for Truth. He'd made several videos about Gamergate and this DARPA connection and other kinds of political and financial institutions connected to it. And I won't go through all of it. He has many videos, and I'm not saying that everything he said is necessarily true, but there's a lot of interesting information in his videos, and it's still on YouTube and also on HookTube and stuff. HookTube. So this is excerpt from some sort of academic paper or something. Also, in spring 2008, the Defense Intelligence Agency asked the National Research Council to form a committee to investigate the possible significance to national security of new modeling, simulation, and games technologies. The committee also identifies ways in which these technologies could impact government and society in the future. So this is another kind of defense agency of the Americans. I don't know how is it separate from DARPA. I guess DARPA is more focused on technology, but is DARPA a subgroup of Defense Intelligence Agency, or I'm not sure how it works. But anyway, the US defense agencies seem very interested in computer technology and stuff. I'll just play a short clip from this video.
First, the computer game should be well designed to distribute a political message, either covertly or overtly. In the former case, the game may be more likely to convert new people to an ideology. In the latter, it is more likely to target a population in order to reinforce a message or derive an action from a willing user base.
I think this is from the same paper as the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency stuff. So they're designing computer games to distribute a political message either covertly or overtly, and to convert people to some sort of ideology. And well, that's certainly what the part of the Gamergate and the ensuing feud between the skeptics and the feminists has been about, because the feminists or SJWs, they were pushing games like Gone Home and all this, with blatant feminist messages, and they've been trying to, they've been trying to push their messages into games in various different ways. This guy, Seattle for Truth, his conclusion basically was that what Gamergate was about, it was to change the perception of gaming so that lawmakers would support gamification of education. Because back then and still, gaming is perceived as this sort of, I don't know, I guess for hardcore gamers or something. And feminists were supposed to dismantle it, I guess, to make it for everybody or something, more approachable for the average person and also for girls or something like that. Because according to Seattle for Truth, because the lawmakers don't really know shit about games and they just believe what the media says about it. And if the media is, if the whole perception of gaming is changed and the media reports that change, then they say okay, then they will introduce more of game-like stuff to schools. I guess that this sort of propaganda games that are also educational and, you know, supposedly fun at the same time. But yeah, educational games, they have existed since the 80s and 90s at least, and they usually been shit. But I guess it's ultimately like, if that this were to happen, and there's certainly still some, you know, people promoting the gamification of education, I think it would just make games that are boring, and also they wouldn't really manage to educate children that well. They'd just be not good education. Like, well, the education system now isn't that good, but it would probably just, I think it's ultimately, it is the point behind it is to dumb down children or people in general, and also to make everything more like a Orwellian matrix of control or whatever, like increased technology everywhere and whatnot. But yeah, that's basically, I think, Seattle for Truth's argument about the ultimate goal of Gamergate, and I suppose it sort of failed thanks to these brave individuals who exposed the stuff. I'm not claiming that was necessarily the ultimate goal of the stuff that launched Gamergate, I suppose. And also he points out these different connections, like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So Bill Gates, you know, the owner of Microsoft, well, he was already mentioned in one of these articles anyway. So they were involved with the whole shebang. And also Common Core, like, it was, I suppose the gamification of education is supposed to make things even more like Common Core, where, you know, which is almost too obviously Orwellian. It's basically like 2 + 2 doesn't necessarily equal 4. Like, you know, if you have a good reason why you think 2 + 2 = 5, then the teachers might allow it. According to Seattle for Truth, this was also like a part of the agenda. And then the Brookings Institution, which is this political think tank that has its finger in many pies, and it's 102 years old already, and I suppose you could make several videos about Brookings Institute, and well, it's allegedly participated in this or that conspiracy. And even according to Seattle for Truth, this failed console Ouya, it was supposed to be part of it. Like, the feminists were apparently promoting it, and it was supposed to herald this new age of gaming, I guess, like more emotionally manipulative and dumbed down games, I suppose. But I guess it's good it failed, although it looks a bit quite crappy, but I sort of like the design. It's somehow cute, but whatever, now it's failed, which is good. And then there's of course this interesting development. Is this recent? So it's October 23rd, 2017. This guy, Seattle for Truth, allegedly stabbed his father to death. It says he was obsessed with liberal pedophilia. I suppose he had, you know, been looking into Pizzagate and stuff like this. Seattle for Truth. And then he, I suppose, had some, according to the official story, he had an argument with his dad and ended up stabbing him. Here it says, according to witnesses, Davis accused his father of pedophilia based not on anything he had experienced, but on his belief in conspiracy theories that liberals are secretly organizing nefarious pedophilia rings around the globe, and in one case even on Mars. Okay. So I have 3 different scenarios for this thing. One is that, yes, this is actually true. He was sort of mentally unbalanced, and then he just did kill his father due to an argument. Or maybe his dad was actually some sort of pedophile. It says here, Charles Chuck Davis, the dad, was a highly regarded civic leader in Skagit County area and longtime attorney. So it certainly wouldn't surprise me if he is some sort of part of some sort of pedophile ring. And the third scenario is that he was actually framed, like somebody else killed his father and he was framed for it because maybe he was getting too close to the truth or something. Or I don't know, maybe somebody else wanted to get rid of his father and it was convenient for them to, you know, kill him and then frame his son, who is still, you know, some sort of like a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist. So I don't know, this is just a weird thing, but yeah, his YouTube channel is still up there, so it's sort of interesting. And okay, so basically that's all about like the Gamergate. So it's related to DARPA and pushing dumbing down of children, like Common Core, and it's related to rich globalists like the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation, or Bill Gates Melinda Foundation, Brookings Institute, and DARPA and all of that. So there's something even bigger going on in the background than, or there was something bigger going on in the background than just, you know, feminists trying to push their insane messages. And yeah, one thing that has sort of irked me about the skeptic community, like a couple of years ago, when I still respected them somewhat, because they just, you know, whine about, you know, feminists are doing that, they never really recognize that they're just a you know, one head of the hydra of this globalist control system, or whatever you want to call it, because, well, a lot of the feminists don't really believe their bullshit themselves. Like, there's lots of useful idiot feminists, but then there are also these, I guess you could call them frauds or manipulators, professional, like either they're being paid by, you know, something like DARPA or the Defense Intelligence Agency or whatever, or maybe they're just, you know, frauds out to scam money from people by, you know, spouting feminist bullshit. But yeah, many of them know that what they are pushing is bullshit. Like this guy, Jonathan McIntosh, who at least used to be like the script writer for Anita Sarkeesian. Probably seen this clip.
And that word is patriarchy. Dun dun dun. Lightning.
And that word is patriarchy. Dun dun dun. So he's just making fun of the whole patriarchy, what, you know, at least feminists used to harp on about, like, oh, the patriarchy does this and that. And he clearly doesn't believe it. Like Anita Sarkeesian, she doesn't believe it. Hillary Clinton, I don't think she believed when she was saying, like, everything is racist, sexist, misogynist, and no, they didn't believe it. It was just a cover to manipulate people emotionally, and also like well, it's just yeah, like I say, it's one of the heads of the Hydra, like or a mask. Like if you think that, you know, feminism controls the world, well, no, that's just one aspect. Okay, let's get to this now. Back to this Data Broker LLC online game review models with AI draft. So this is supposedly, and I don't know like what company's secret notes these are. Like Mr. Obvious, he said that suggested EA and other video companies are using mind control. I don't know like where he got the idea that it's EA. Maybe it's just because EA is the go-to crappy / evil game company. Maybe that's why he was suggesting it might be from EA. Like, if this is genuine, I'm more inclined to believe it's one of those companies that work with DARPA or the Defense Intelligence Agency or something. But okay, let's take a look. I won't read all of these, but some of them I will. So the big 3 ideas. By utilizing artificial intelligence, AI, it's possible to increase revenue in streams in-game by combining out-of-game or real-life information and out-of-game AI-generated activities with in-game premium activities. Our main revenue creation tactic for all our clients involves utilizing persistent bait and switching of in-game incentive advertisements with intermittent premium advertisements driven by the same AI. Most importantly, we have proven that allowing the AI to alter a player's game as a whole, social engineering, and alter the player's individual gameplay experience, psychological manipulation tactics causes a consistent and dramatic increase recurrent revenue streams. Here they are admitting that they are engaging in social engineering and psychological manipulation tactics to get more shekels from gamers, essentially. I don't know, like, I think that the language sounds like social engineering, psychological manipulation tactics. It sounds more like, some government psyop agency, or like, like that, more like the feds or the spooks or whatever you want to call them, instead of just a corporation. I don't know if there's ultimately any difference on the top, if it's a corporation or a governmental agency. But anyway, so here is an example of a bad ad, like, they even have those annoying Microsoft clip. Looks like you're having trouble aiming. Click here or press button to buy auto aim and to store daily grind token earned. So this is a bad ad, but this is a good ad. Like plus 10% HP free, and then auto aim something. And I don't know, like, if I'm, what game is this, Halo or something? I don't know what game this is, but like if I'm playing some sort of shooter game, I wouldn't wanna see either of these ads. Like, what the fuck? Like, I wouldn't touch, generally speaking, I wouldn't even touch a game that I know has microtransactions. Like, maybe if it has cosmetic ones, I might still play it, but usually I just, say like, yeah, that's not for me. I'm not a fucking idiot. And generally speaking, like, I don't understand why people still play games from EA, because haven't EA been voted as the shittiest game company since the time of Constantine or something? Why do people still fall for them? Like, everybody knows they make shit, they abuse their customers and whatnot, or exploit their customers. So why do people still buy their games? However, there are probably many children who don't know better, so they fall victim to that. Otherwise, I might just say, like, people who are so dumb to fall for this shit maybe deserve to get scammed, but then again, there's children playing these things, so yeah, you should really limit the scammage of gaming. Okay, I have some tabs open here for specific things I want to read. Okay, the first paragraph is just how, since ancient Egypt, merchants started listing their prices, like in a store, you can see the label, how much it costs, because before you just had to ask the salesperson. But I think the second paragraph is interesting. Outlined in Schedule C, you'll find how we plan to create new price points for goods that have a fixed manufacturing cost regardless of the lack of replication costs. Previous dynamic pricing models caused backlash because customers viewed selectively increased charges as unfair. Our models go under people's radars by disguising dynamic prices as rewards instead of indirect taxations. They are admitting that they are taxing you, but they are making it look like a reward. They admit that, there is no replication cost to making their crappy DLC or whatever they are selling, loot boxes or skins or whatnot. So they sell it, and there is no production cost. So yeah, it really makes you think, like, I don't know, it's stupid really to pay for games, and I pay for games. Like, I almost always wait for a sale, for a good sale, but still I pay for video games. Each customer is not part of the problem reduction target space. In order to increase the breadth of revenue creators while also increasing the quality revenue from customers, it is important to systematically reduce the problem space presented. We do this by restructuring goal trees dynamically as well. Over time, the AI is able to change what it presumes will be its own goals. Don't worry, this isn't Skynet. It only breaks each score it receives down into smaller goals within themselves to achieve better result in easier ways. An example is given in Schedule J. By taking each activation or lack thereof and breaking it down to simpler actions, the AI will guide players onto more and more solid paths towards activation. Each goal tree utilized by our AI is handcrafted with hundreds and sometimes thousands of rule sets so that it never gets too noisy. This means the AI knows when to advertise a free bonus and when to advertise a premium offer. It can often accurately predict what the advertisement should say, what colors to use, where to display on screen, when the customer should look at it, and how to elicit the best response from those factors or more. Then after it measures the response, it will know how to do it better next time for all users. So yeah, I think just this comment, don't worry, this isn't Skynet. Like, it's probably gonna develop into a Skynet if this whole AI thing is real and not some sort of elaborate hoax. Like, yeah, I was mentioning, DARPA and the flesh-eating robots, and I do think this is basically part of the same network as, DARPA and Gamergate stuff and everything. Some real-life data. We have partnered with a company that is putting cameras into billboards around the US and Canada. Okay, somebody in US and Canada, maybe you should try to find out what company is doing this stuff. Are there many companies doing this stuff? These out-of-home advertising avenues both use facial recognition and an internet connection to look up the viewer as a person and monitor meta objects if the viewer is not a person. For example, when we track users' cell phones, we can tell if they are driving past one of our partners' billboards. We can monitor their reception to every single ad they pass by that is part of our network, especially if they are walking around in a mall we have networked and are looking directly at our cameras in ordering boards, ad boards, billboards, elevator ad cameras, and all other more personal cameras. They use facial recognition to track you whenever you go. They use ads for it. This isn't even Orwellian, this is they live. Ads and surveillance and everything. And they're using your phone to track you. How the fuck is this legal? More real life data. We use more than just cameras and location data to match users. At any given moment, your phone is broadcasting Bluetooth, Wi-Fi beacons, and cell information to cell towers. Many of our partners' kiosks and point-of-purchase terminals match phone data with the camera and audio data we collect to personalize profile information further. Our partner uses this to change the advertisement shown as a person approaches, so when they look, they are looking at an advertisement that is more likely to generate a sale. We use the leftover data from this interaction to generate more sales for you later. We also know how valuable derived information is when other companies don't, so we are able to acquire large amounts of data at a great price and pass those savings on to you. So, okay, you're walking in a mall and there's some, ad, a TV screen showing different kinds of ads. So, okay, let's say a teenage girl is walking by. It's oh, that's a teenage girl. Okay, I should put on makeup ads or something. But then some adult guy works in okay, I should make beer ads with women with big boobs in it or something. And yeah, back in the 90s when I was a teenager, already back then I thought that advertisement, at least how they are used in modern day, is a violation of human rights. And I thought that ads should be banned, advertisement should be banned. And yeah, this is just, I couldn't imagine something like this back then. I'm becoming more and more fascist because this is not the kind of stuff I want to see. How are you gonna defend this? It's the free market, they can do whatever they want, they are not infringing on your freedoms. Clever indicators. Intro. Mobile or software designed in Xamarin for all mobile devices contains a specialized monitoring software. This monitoring system keeps specialized information contained within the device so that our company and your company is not able to take in any raw or identifiable data. This means there is no legal issues across borders. The software takes in things like acceleration, XYZ, geoposition, SMS, send receiving timings, call send receiving timings, but not content or recipient. GSM strength and estimated XYZ location, nearby audio, nearby MAC addresses, Wi-Fi names, and nearby cell phones discovered through a completely passive side channel attack shown in Schedule O. This information is serialized and made non-personally identifiable before requesting complementary information from our servers. For example, when recording audio, the phone stores and sends no audio streams of any kind. It only sends audio snippets for analysis that are a maximum 1 second long. The software on the device extracts keywords from speech-to-text software and analyzes non-word sounds such as heavier, softer breathing patterns. This information is then packaged together and sent back for processing by our AI. So yeah, they are listening in on you. Like, yeah, we are not listening to whole conversation. We are just listening to 1 second snippets. Well, I don't fucking give permission, at least not willingly, for them to do it. I don't want them to fucking listen to me unless I'm, making a video like I am now. Even if this is a hoax, I do think that the, US government or military or NSA, they have technology like this. And, if this is just for, some gaming companies to make more money, what do you think that NSA and those kind of organizations are doing with all of the info? Yeah, I think Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and the Luddites were right. Technology will go overboard. Like, Terminator 2 was right. Schedule Z audio. Raw information, detail derived information, audio, processed keyword analysis and non-word sounds. The library of sounds we've crafted was made by us gathering sounds from other companies and creating many ourselves. The list of identifiable non-word sounds is currently over 500,000. This includes sounds we consider significant to monitoring the user: door slamming, yelling, pain, anger, sadness, laughing, falling down, children crying, television show dialogue. And insignificant sounds: rain, rustling from readjusting sitting position, eating, microwave sounds followed by chewing sounds indicates eating reheated or prepackaged food. Also includes guessed food types like potato chip soup, spaghetti. So they fucking know whether I'm eating potato chips or spaghetti. Like, the library also performs mathematical transformations to detect synchronous vibrations or sound reflective surfaces to determine the size of the room the user is in. It can sometimes even detect if there are open windows despite no sounds coming in through them. So, okay, is this like a... It looks like it's from a different sort of presentation. The information contained within this space is confidential, but here it doesn't say it's confidential. Here it says like, yeah, we only listen to 1 second long stuff, but here it's like, yeah, we're listening to what you're eating, what TV your children, crying or laughing or whatever. How the fuck is this legal? Like, I really hope that Trump drains the swamp and drowns these people in the swamp. Schedule Z audio continued. Audio processed keyword analysis and non-word sounds. The AI has a subroutine specifically for high-value distraction events. A distraction event is something that a user will prioritize attention to over the game, but the low, medium, high descriptor is related to how often it will cause the closure of a game session. For example, if a user is in their home and 100% of the time a child crying ends a game session, that is a high or maximum value distraction event. So what, is the AI gonna kill the child so it doesn't interact the father anymore or something? The AI begins a new testing lifecycle that starts when the game session closes. It will patiently lie in wait for the high value distraction event to end. Then it tries to learn what actions it can take in order to create a new lucrative gaming session from the user. It can choose to wait until the house is quiet, and with the late time it thinks the child that was crying is now sleeping. It will prime the user to start a new play session before the user approaches another entertainment venture like a book or television set. If the user jumps on Reddit or Redacted, it will try to lure them back within those platforms and then reinforce the behavior with an artificial play event or positive reinforcement out of game event. So, okay, let's get this straight. Like, I'm playing Final Fantasy 666 or something, and then my wife comes to interrupt, like, hey, you have to go cook. So, I get interrupted, and then I do other stuff, and then I go to Reddit. Well, I rarely go to Reddit. I hate it. But anyway, let's say I go to Reddit to read the latest liberalists' brilliant ideas and philosophies, and will they give me like some banner ad like, hey, if you play Final Fantasy 666 today, you get plus 500 gold pieces or gil or whatever. And also, like, if I use ad blocker or similar software, so will it still work? Like, how is it supposed to work? And once again, this is so fucking Orwellian. It's not funny, but I have to laugh because it's so fucking insane. Schedule Z, accidentally derived information. Using voice tone and pitch after determining race and gender, we can detect more than just moods. So what, they can determine your race and gender? I thought they were social constructs. What is white after all? It can tell why the user is feeling that way. The AI started detecting and then aggressively targeting women during the last 2 days of the luteal phase of their menstrual cycle. It discovered a correlation between the voice pitch adjustment away from the normal standard deviation and that women would buy more in those 48 hours when the AI used aggressive upselling advertisement strategies. I just don't want to even read the rest of this. Schedule the accidentally derived information. Oh, yeah. This is interesting. It's accidentally derived. It's not like, we are deliberately spying on you, but we accidentally receive your information. It's like a person from Corporation A goes to the factory of Corporation B just to, for a stroll, and then he accidentally happens to hear their like secret blueprints for some device they're building, or like the secret recipe for the McDonald's hot sauce or whatever. Like, yeah, it's accidental, I didn't do nothing wrong. Using the same voice tone and pitch paired with acceleration monitoring, the AI was quickly able to detect slightly depressed and severely depressed players. It noticed significant correlation between depressed blah blah blah, but yeah, they can fucking find out how you are feeling, like your emotions. So I wonder how, are they detecting how I'm feeling right now? And yeah, this is maybe even like the worst bit. Schedule the 3D mapping users' homes. Wi-Fi signal at desktop and at mobile. It's possible to overlay many one-dimensional points of reference between any two electromagnetic emitting and receiving points. Those overlays create two-dimensional maps of areas between and around those emitters. By combining the data from each of these, it's possible to create a 2D map of items between them. This is typically a horizontal slice recreated by measuring the scattering and reflections of the electromagnetic radiation around objects that permit varying levels of radiation through. The easiest to detect are metal objects. Otherwise, we combine Markov random field hypothesis with the Hammersley-Clifford theorem in order to generate flat horizontal slices of users' rooms that are built into 3D maps. I don't know what is Markov random field hypothesis or Hammersley-Clifford theorem, but yeah, basically they claim that they can spy, like even see what sort of room you have, basically simply by using your computer and phone and modem, I suppose. Schedules is 3D mapping users' homes. Whenever there is a variance in communication between the mobile device and the desktop Wi-Fi card, there is a one-dimensional data point entered, referenced as 1.5D in technical documents. Along its x-axis are variations we measure when the phone is moving with the user. Perhaps through walking we can create multiple one-dimensional points and lay them on the y-axis. Now we have a 2D horizontal and flat composite. When the phone is moving up or down with the user, more shots are used at different heights to make 2D slices. Those 2D slices are brought in and sorted by height while being refined with thousands of 1D snapshots. I don't know, I can just say it's creepy stuff. Schedule Z terms. Step ahead question. Where the AI thinks it knows what conclusion a person will make when presented with new information or leading question. For this player, they had a high-level key available. When the AI then starts with this SAQ with a message to the player saying, "I'm a new player and I just found a treasure chest in this dungeon labeled Mythic. I can't open it. Can you please help me?" The player will join the party to enter the dungeon, and the AI will pilot an avatar disguised as a human player. So it's like a Cylon or a synth. Like, I just wonder when we will see AIs manipulating some bio-robots or disguised as human beings. Okay, if the player lends a key to the AI will open the mythic treasure chest and receive rewards that are always slightly better than what the player has. If the player purchases their own mythic treasure chest afterwards, it will contain improvements over the current items instead of randomized items. Like, this is just evil. Anti-bias remorse strategy. So the strategies are like envy, frustration, competition, adult, uncertainty, loss, aversion, defensive, fear, conflict, avoidance, imitation, sunk cost, learning, adventure, play, aggressive, encouragement, aggressive, discouragement, basics, outlet, overflow, and more than can be listed here. We can sell specific cosmetic items or social engineer players into thinking a person of their sexual preferences in or creating a situation where they are encouraged to make a purchase because of those primal feelings. It also alters matchmaking to pair people who sexually prefer each other. This is often unsuccessful in generating increased revenue, so it is rarely even used, but it is part of our arsenal. They are using your sins against you, I suppose. In some way you can say it's good, like it encourages you to be less sinful. Clever indicators highlights. General, for example, the recent case outlined in Schedule P shows how developers or persons targeting children for emotional manipulation is illegal by the CGEU ruling P1. Unfortunately, precedent has been set where AI is not the owner of the products or actions it creates because only persons can have rights or liabilities. Cannot hold rights to works of art made by animal solely because it's not a legal person. See the any case. The Holy Spirit cannot own copyright to things it's credited to inspiring or creating solely because God is not a legal person. Users of our software can opt out of passive monitoring by turning off the app. We never allow companies we partner with to hide the fact that the user is being monitored. No hidden background processes are ever allowed. This protects both us legally. The process will always run when the app is open or open visibly running in the background. On that note, if you want to use our AI management software and it decides the best course of action to deal with that employee you don't like is to kill him, is technically not a crime. Machines can't commit murder. Murder is when a person kills another person. AIs are not persons. So I know that's supposed to be a joke, but still, like, I can't help but see that sounding a bit too realistic. And yeah, this is interesting, like, because I see this sort of catch-22 situation that they might actually try to push at some point, because the AI cannot be held responsible for its actions since it's not a legal person. What if they will start to, try to push it in courts that AIs should be legal persons? They should have rights and responsibilities, just like people and corporations. How about holding the person who owns the AI or who made the AI or something like that? Why not hold them responsible for the actions of the AI? Why not do something like that? Like, I wonder why they're not doing that. So let's say that I have a car and I park my car but on a hill, but I forget to use the handbrake, and then the car slides down and kills somebody. I'm not responsible, and the car is not a legal person, so it's not responsible. Like, how is it different if your AI does something criminal, basically criminal, than to, you know, when my car does something basically criminal. Like I didn't intend it for it to kill anybody. I wasn't driving the car. It acted by itself. Like, how is that different? And yeah, this is the final pick that I'm gonna look at. Hypothesis, creating situations in a game where player experiences can be modified in real time can be used to increase spending from players. Control group 1, basic. Control group 2, PSYOP. So yeah, they're using social engineering, manipulation tactics, and PSYOP, like psychological operations. This sounds like, you know, some CIA niggers who glow in the dark or something like that. This is utterly evil. I'm just wondering, is this just some nice whistleblower who leaked this? Or is it some sort of elaborate hoax or like a disinformation campaign? Or is it some sort of, I don't know what this is. It's just disturbing stuff. Okay, I'm gonna finish the stuff here. I'm just gonna give some final comments. So it's basically, let's get back to feminism for a moment. The thing about feminism is that they are basically, they deny reality, they deny race, they deny sex. So basically they are trying to brainwash people into not having a rational conception of reality. And well, to a certain degree, even the skeptics are doing that, since many of them don't really believe in race, which is just biological fact. And also, like you know, mentioned Common Core and its supposed connection to the Gamergate stuff. It's meant to dilute your sense of right and wrong, or like, you know, correct and incorrect, and, you know, mathematics and all that. And then there's this AI, it's supposed to manipulate you to acting a certain way and abusing your vices and your desires, using them against you to manipulate you. So ultimately this is very much like you know, various science fiction dystopias such as 1984, Brave New World, The Matrix, or Metropolis. I have this clip here from the movie. This is basically, like, you know, if you haven't seen the movie, how they want to like breed, they want to change human nature, like breed our humanity and, you know, connection to reality from us, and just turn us into some sort of robotic slaves, or, you know, maybe batteries like in the Matrix. And yeah, also, like, you know, just mentioning feminism and stuff. I think in some way, like after many of the skeptics took over Gamergate and they were just whining about feminism and not looking at the bigger issue, I do think they derailed Gamergate. Like, whether they did it intentionally or not, I don't know. Like, I'm certainly not saying that all of them or most of them are some sort of feds or agents out there to derail it. There might be one or two of those among the crowd. Gamergate was about something bigger, and also Candid also was supposed to be about testing some sort of censorship AI, and that's another thing that nosy internet people, such as Harmful Opinions, they managed to fight against. At least I hope they actually his videos and investigations actually did harm to whatever the ultimate goal was with Candid. I do think there is some sort of at least an indirect connection even to Candid between this stuff, assuming it's real, because, well, it is, you know, you're using AI to fuck with people. Like it said here, it's like spying is not illegal for AIs because, well, it's not a person, it's not a legal person, so it might be used to push for some sort of personhood for AI. And, you know, like corporations are not actual people, but they are legal persons, so maybe they want that with AIs. And another thing is like really hypothetical and looking far off into the future, but maybe all of this is ultimately about really creating the Matrix or something like that. Let's just say DARPA is testing people's reactions and simulations, or like the Defense Intelligence Agency was testing simulations and stuff. Like maybe they want to create some simulated facsimile fantasy world where people can escape from the harshness of reality. And, you know, just think about it, like the politicians and media, they could argue how when they actually build the Matrix somehow, like, hey, you should just, you know, you can move into these comfortable yet small apartments, not even like all of your time, but let's say you spend like most of your waking time plugged into the Matrix. Like, of course, you have to have some microchip or something, you know, mark of the beast to enable it. But let's say you spend most of your time in your favorite fantasy world in some, you know, cybernetic matrix. The people pushing it can say that, okay, it's gonna fix lots of the housing crisis because we don't need such big houses anymore. Like you can just have a small closet with a small kitchen, or, you know, you can have some vending machine. You just have to press the button and get the food when you need it. Or maybe you just have some in vitro thingy, like you don't even have to bother eating. You can just stay all day in the matrix. So we could save a lot of room, and also, like, you know, it would fix all of these political differences between, you know, people arguing over Muslims or alt-right and Antifa and all that, because, you know, you don't have to interact with them in the real world. You can just go to the Matrix, and then you could like create your own safe space. Like you can create your own safe space with lots of just AI programs that can mimic humans, or then you can have your like own Antifa space, your own alt-right space, and you don't have to interact with the enemy. Like, wouldn't it solve all, you know, there wouldn't be wars, crime would be practically non-existent, and you just have this fantasy world that's perfect for you. Now, I do think that this is where it's eventually gonna go, but maybe it's gonna be decades later or something. Like they're gonna push for something like that. But yeah, this whole fucking thing is so disgusting. It seems so outrageous to be true, and also outrageous to be a hoax.